Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're tackling a really fundamental question. What is the present moment, and how does it tie into memory?
It's fascinating stuff. You sent us that discussion, the undefined present moment discussion.pdf.
Right, between DJ Onyx and ChatGPT.
Yeah, and it really makes you stop and think about the now, something we just, usually take completely for granted.
Absolutely, and what I liked is that it tries to come at it logically, based on observation, not just pure philosophy.
Exactly. So our mission here really is to unpack this core idea they explore, that the present moment, stripped bare of memory, is like the bedrock of existence.
And how figuring that out changes how we see reality, ourselves.
Everything. Precisely. It's about understanding that foundation.
Okay, so let's get right into it. This idea of the undefined present moment.
Right. The discussion points out that the present itself, that fleeting instant, holds no memory, no information, no data.
Which means
Yeah.
no definition, no structure.
Exactly. No limits. You can't really measure it or hold on to it. It's more like something you have to assume is there, like a point between two other points.
But if it's undefined, what does that imply?
Well, that's the interesting part. It makes it pure potential, like the absolute threshold before anything actually becomes an experience your mind can grab onto and label.
The ultimate clean slate.
You could say that, yeah.
Okay, but this is where my head starts spinning a bit.
Hmm.
Because everything we think of as real, the room I'm in, my thoughts, whatever, that's all constructed after this pure present.
According to this discussion, yes. It's built from data, form, memory, stuff that comes after that undefined instant.
So the actual foundation, the really raw present, is something we can't really know directly.
That seems to be the logical conclusion here. It's like the background hum we can't quite isolate.
Which leads us straight to memory then.
Absolutely critical. Our sense of reality isn't just a direct feed, it's completely tangled up with memory.
We use memory to understand everything, right? To interpret, make sense of it all.
It's the scaffolding. Without it, existence would just be disconnected flashes. Nothing would link up. No continuity.
So the pure present, the undefined bit, we can't actually experience it because our minds need structure.
Our minds need data to compare, to recognize patterns. And data is memory, essentially. The pure present hasn't got that yet.
So our experience is always looking back, even just a fraction of a second.
It's retrospective, yeah. A reconstruction of the immediate past that feels like now.
Wow. Okay, so for everyone listening, the implication is we never actually touch that pure, raw present.
It remains sort of a conceptual horizon, something we infer exists but can't grab.
Okay, this then brings up their idea of the gap.
That little space, almost infinitely small, between the not knowing of the pure present and the knowing that comes with memory forming.
The tiny pause between things becoming defined.
Right. And what's fascinating is how our minds handle it. They talk about mental scaffolding, our brain's knack for creating a seamless sense of continuity. It kind of instinctively papers over that gap so we feel like everything is smooth and unbroken.
Like editing out a tiny glitch in a film.
That's a good way to put it. It avoids the dissonance, the feeling of disconnect. It constructs a plausible flow.
So the gap feels like it doesn't exist, not because we experience the transition smoothly,
but because our whole system relies on recognizing data, which is memory, almost instantly. We can't function without that recognition kicking in.
The system needs that continuity, even if it's built over something fundamentally inaccessible, like that camera shutter idea. There's a moment of darkness, but we just see the continuous picture.
Precisely. Which leads to the big question, can that undefined moment ever be glimpsed? Maybe in certain states of awareness? Or is it just fundamentally hidden?
A blind spot. Now, they're very clear, aren't they, that this isn't mysticism?
Very clear. This is grounded in empirical analysis, logic, theories about how human cognition actually works, not meditation or spirituality.
It's about the inherent logic of the situation.
Exactly. If you define the present as having no memory, then any transition into having even the slightest bit of memory implies a change of state, a jump.
From undefined to defined.
Right. And our conscious story just smooths right over that jump, like that single frame cutout perception fills it in.
So our sense of continuous consciousness is what? Fabricated?
Constructed, maybe? It's built during that transition we can't bridge. Consciousness, because it deals with information, always refers to what's already become data, already become memory.
It's always looking slightly backward to make sense of moving forward. And that backward look is memory.
That's the idea.
Okay, this leads to a pretty wild conclusion then.
Yeah.
The present moment, the now we feel, is basically an assumption.
An assumption, yeah. Because
Uh-huh.
we never experience it pure. It has no past, meaning no memory within it.
And the future is just a projection based on past memories.
Right. So what's left for the present itself? Just that undefined point. No memory, no data, no structure we can measure.
So it's like a logical placeholder between memory and projection.
That's a good way to think about it. A mental inference point that helps us organize time and experience.
Our brains are stitching moments together after they happen and calling that now.
Pretty much. And the key is no experience can happen without memory. So the pure present, lacking memory, can only be assumed. We're always at cognitive catch-up mode. Our whole sense of being human relies on this memory-based construction.
Then the conversation shifts gears a bit, right? It moves from just how we perceive it.
To the nature of the present itself, its ontology, what it fundamentally is.
Okay, ontology, the study of being, basically.
Right. And the argument becomes that the present moment isn't just undefined for us because of our minds.
It's undefined in principle,
Yeah.
fundamentally.
Yes, like a singularity in time. No dimension, no form, no content intrinsically.
Which makes trying to define it impossible almost.
Yeah.
The moment you try, you use concepts based on memory past or expectation future.
You collapse it into something it isn't. It really shows the limits of our concepts when we try to grasp something so basic.
They compare it to infinity.
Yeah, infinity isn't just a huge number. It's the absence of a boundary. The present is like the absence of reference points, of definition. It exists outside definition itself.
Okay, but hold on. If it's ontologically empty, does that just mean it doesn't exist? It sounds like nothing.
Ah, that's the crucial point they make. Ontologically empty doesn't mean non-existent. It means without content or form. It is, but it has no properties, no data baked into it, structurally undefined.
So it exists more like a boundary,
Yeah.
a hinge,
Mm-mm.
something necessary to connect past and future, but not really part of either.
Exactly like a hinge or like zero in math or maybe a singularity in physics. It's a necessary structural point you can't quite resolve into concrete terms. It just is, structurally.
Right, okay. Which then leads to this really profound idea,
Yeah.
the present moment as the foundation of all existence.
The condition for anything else to be possible. Without the presence of the present, nothing could be.
It's the origin point. Not in time, maybe, but structurally.
Everything form, memory, cause, and effect has to somehow pass through this present moment.
So there's that paradox again. It's not really part of our defined reality, because reality is post-present, built on memory.
Yet reality absolutely cannot exist without it. It's essential, but ungraspable.
The ontological hinge. No attributes itself, but the condition for all attributes.
And that's presented as logically necessary, not mystical.
Okay, if the present is primary, the fundamental condition,
Mm-hmm.
what does that make us? Humans. With our memories, our bodies, our thoughts.
Well, the conclusion drawn is that we're existentially secondary,
Secondary.
meaning our existence is post factum. We kind of emerge after the present has done its instantaneous, undefined becoming thing.
So we're not driving the bus, so to speak.
We're not choosing to obey the present. We're sort of created by it, constantly redefined by this passage through the present without even being aware of it. We're reactive.
Always a step behind the fundamental event.
Our consciousness, our sense of agency, identity, all of it constructed in retrospect. We're playing catch-up. Interpreters, not initiators.
Secondary to the present, the only real origin point. And this whole secondary structure, our consciousness, our identity, it's all built on memory, isn't it?
Absolutely. That's the bedrock of the human experience as we know it. We literally cannot exist outside of memory. It defines us.
Which loops back perfectly to that initial thought from the listener source material that reality is experienced in memory, and memory must come from somewhere before memory.
Exactly. You deduce backward. The source can't be memory itself. It has to be prior.
Which has to be this undefined present moment, that transition point.
The point between no memory and memory. So present, primary origin. Consciousness, being memory-based, is a secondary.
Our nervous system gets the data, forms the memory after the present has slipped into becoming form. We're essentially fed memory.
We receive it. We don't generate that initial spark. We're submissive in that sense to the present.
But then, if the undefined present produces memory, what gives that memory structure? Meaning. It's not just noise.
That's a great question raised in the discussion. There seems to be an intelligence to it, right?
Yet the memory it generates is coherent, timed, integrated, interpretable by us. It makes sense.
So here's the paradox. The present is undefined, yet it generates definition, form, identity via memory. This intelligence seems foundational, part of the mechanics of becoming.
Okay, and the final big insight, the real kicker.
Is that if we could somehow be aware of the present in its pure, undefined state,
That very awareness would mean it's already defined. It's already become memory data.
the act of observing it would make it impossible to observe in its pure state.
If we could cross that bridge, hypothetically,
We'd be participating in the actual becoming of existence, not just receiving the memory of it afterwards.
which leads to that razor-sharp question. If we humans can't do that, if we're always behind that curve, barred from the raw present,
Then maybe the present isn't just the origin, but maybe the only true actor.
and our entire experience, our sense of self, because it relies totally on memory formed after that point, is fundamentally tied to this inaccessibility. We are bound within memory.
Precisely. Our entire world, our understanding, our being is constructed from memory, originating from this inaccessible present. Without that memory link, our conscious self wouldn't exist.
So wrapping this up for everyone listening, this deep dive really shows how our reality is just inseparable from memory. And the present moment, pure and raw, stays undefined, but is absolutely fundamental.
It suggests our whole being, our consciousness, is built on something we can't directly touch.
And again, these were insights sparked by your curiosity, listener, and that discussion you shared.
Yeah, really fascinating stuff to chew on.
So here's a final thought to leave you with. How does knowing this, that we're kind of living downstream from an undefined present, always interpreting a memory-built reality, change how you see your own consciousness, your sense of time?
Is that feeling we have of a solid, continuous now maybe a necessary illusion? A beautiful trick our minds perform so we can function?
An illusion built entirely on the foundation of memory, allowing us to navigate a world rooted in something ultimately beyond our grasp. Something to think about.